Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another Tern webinar. We are so excited that you all are here. Thank you for spending some of your Wednesday afternoon with us. We have a lot of really exciting stuff to show you. If I haven't met you yet, my name is David Shull. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO here at Tern, and I have the pleasure of kicking off this webinar. And I was kind of reflecting on this before we got started. I think this may be the webinar I've been looking forward to the most. It's just such a cool opportunity to really bring to life the vision that we have for changing the future of travel with all of you. And so this is really a team effort and a team sport, and we're going to be talking a lot about that. Before we jump into the content, I have to do a couple housekeeping things. I see that many of you are already doing this by saying hello in the chat, saying where you're from. Even in a virtual world, we think relationships matter a lot. We love to be social. We love to connect and kind of feel the energy of this many people coming together to think about the future of technology. So say hello in the chat. Make sure that you have it set to go to everybody so that you can see that. And just, we've got the entire Tern team on this webinar, and it is so fun for them to see your reactions to what they've worked so hard over the past couple months building. So feel free to give us those real-time reactions. We love the excitement. We love the hype. We love the comments. We spend a lot of time looking at those afterwards. I will say, though, the Q&A, that is not, don't put that in the chat. Just don't do it. If you put it in the chat, you won't get answered. If you have a question, use the Q&A feature for that. I think in our last webinar, we had like 1,500 chats. And so a lot of them we didn't read until like next week. And so if you want your question answered next week, use the chat. If you want to answer it during the webinar, use the Q&A feature. And we've got people on the Tern team who will answer those questions as best as they can as we go through this. Have a little patience because it can get a little crazy in there. And yes, we are recording this. We always get asked the question. We are recording. And again, give us a little bit of time. It takes us a day or two to process that, get on the website, but you will find this on our blog in the next couple of days. And so you can come back and reference it. We'll have a summary, all those good things. And we've got a lot to cover, but I do want to say that we've got some giveaways. So stay to the end. We're going to be giving away a $500 Southwest gift card. And so we're super excited about that. And that will be at the very end. So make sure you stay to the end if you can. So with housekeeping out of the way, I want to start this webinar a little bit differently than we've started some of the other webinars. If you've attended those, don't worry. We're going to get into all the features. We're going to do the live demos. We're going to do all the things that Tern is known for when it comes to these webinars. But I think sometimes what can happen is when we just rattle off all the features that we've built over the past 2.5 months since our last webinar, you can sort of lose like what are we actually working towards? Like what is the vision that we have for Tern? What does it mean when you sign up to partner with Tern? Like what are you actually signing up for? And so I just wanted to take a few minutes to share how we think about that and a little bit of the kind of journey that we've been on and really what we're building towards with all of you. When we started researching the travel industry a little over 2 years ago, Katie, Brian, and I had lots of conversations. Most importantly, we talked to all of you, travel advisors and agency owners. We also talked to technologists, venture capitalists, as we really tried to wrap our head around this broader travel ecosystem. And one of the things that came up a lot was, well, aren't travel agents declining? Like, isn't this kind of receding market share for the past basically 60 years? And hasn't technology really sort of been the enemy of the travel advisor with the booking sites and the OTAs and going direct and new things like Airbnb? And we really wrestled with this. We said, kind of how do we think about this? But as we started talking, and many of you have felt this, right? We've over drinks talked about the frustration of being at a cocktail party and having people be like, wait, like travel advisors, like they're still around. And it's so frustrating because we know at the core that all these tools are have their place. There's nothing like working with the travel advisor. The human connection and experience that you get when you're talking to an advisor who's been there and done that will never be replaced by a machine. And you see this happen. You read the kind of financial statements of these big tech companies that go direct to the consumer, and they spend on average $50 on every single trip to acquire a customer. Now, that's not just build a relationship once, spend $50 to do it. Every single time that person travels, every single OTA is competing for that business with $50. And so you can imagine that it's incredibly efficient. Travel advisors don't have that problem. You build a relationship with that client and you create an experience that is unlike anything they could have done themselves. And they come back to you over and over and over again. We also hear from travelers that don't work with travel advisors that sorting through the noise is exhausting. You talk to people who are like, oh, the parents that are planning a trip for the family and they like read 3 bad reviews on TripAdvisor and they're like, oh, am I signing my family up for something horrible? Sitting down with an advisor who's been to that resort or that cruise and said like, oh, I've actually been there. I know exactly what cabin's gonna be perfect for you and your family, brings a peace of mind that is invaluable. And so we know and we believe at our core that working with an advisor is the best way to book travel. But if you start to look at some of these book yourself things, they have some benefits. It's highly efficient. It can be very streamlined. They put hundreds of millions of dollars into their digital experiences. And so when we started Tern, and when we wake up every single day to build this company, we ask ourselves, what if we reclaimed the benefit of technology for the travel industry? What if we reclaimed the benefit of technology for each and every one of you? And really, if we were able to do that, we could combine the benefits of working with a real live human with incredible technology. We would be able to start to reverse the trend of this graph. And this is what we wake up every single day to try and do. We want to bring better technology than the book of yourselfers can get to each and every one of you. We want to supercharge your business with technology so that you can spend more time building your business or with your loved ones, more time on what matters for you. And so we have a pretty audacious goal. Like our goal is not to just build a better itinerary builder, a better CRM. Our goal is with each and every one of you to redefine the future of travel, to create a new era of travel that supercharges all of your business. Now that's audacious. I think we've got the team to do it, and I think we've got the track record to do it. But there are 3 primary things that we need to improve if we're going to realize that vision of introducing this new era of travel. The first is we need to combine the best elements of that human touch with the efficiency that digital tools can bring. That means a lot of things. We're going to talk about this in detail, but importantly, it means getting rid of fragmentation in the ecosystem, eliminating duplicate data entry, and leveraging new tools like artificial intelligence to help supercharge your workflow and streamline the wasted time that can happen in the industry today. It means creating a modernized client experience, allowing you to offer a world-class digital experience for each and every one of your clients that is far better than anything they could get if they were working on their own. And importantly, it means leveraging the connections. One of my favorite parts about the travel industry is that it is about relationships. It's about people. And we think that technology can help supercharge those connections. And a couple of examples, we'll talk about collaboration today, but you look into the future and the opportunities here. We hear from each and every one of you that you're getting 300 plus emails a day from suppliers. Buried in those emails are incredible offers and experiences that your clients can only get through you. But managing that influx of information and connecting it to clients in a way that's personalized for them is daunting, if possible, today. And we think technology can really help leverage the relationships that you have to drive more business. And we think if we can make progress on all 3 of these things, then we really start to reverse that trend and we put more money in your pocket. We help you build your businesses. We help you get time back to spend with the things that you care most about. So let's talk about how we're doing that today. And we're going to start with this human touch digital efficiency theme. The first and a critical theme, this is literally what led us to start Tern to begin with, is system fragmentation. We talk to travel advisors and agency owners. We still do this all the time. And what we hear hasn't changed, unless you're on Tern. But it's the same thing. Like, oh, I'm using this tool for my itinerary builder, and I'm using this tool for my CRM, and then my host agency requires me to enter my sales into this platform, and then I'm using this scheduling tool so my clients can book with me, and then I'm using spreadsheets, and it is a mess. It is an absolute mess. It is hours of wasted time on every trip, manually entering data. And I'm going to be a little bold here and say, like, manually entering data over and over again is not the unique value that you bring to your clients. It is not the unique value that you bring to your clients. And so what we firmly believe is that we have to eliminate this fragmented point solution ecosystem if we want to bring the industry to its full potential. And that's exactly what we're doing with Tern. And that's why I'm so excited about this webinar, is that you will see for the first time in any demo that we've done live, the full end-to-end life cycle. From a client reaching out to you on a booking form, to planning that trip, to crafting an itinerary, to creating a credit card authorization form, to an agency owner reconciling a supplier payment in a way that I don't think has ever been done in the industry. And so stay tuned. You're going to see that in a live demo here very shortly. But when we describe this vision of bringing that entire tech stack into one integrated, beautifully designed, thoughtful platform, I often hear something along the lines of, I've been in the industry for 30 years, and that's not possible. And I want to just tell you a quick story to help kind of combat that and maybe push back a little bit. I was on the Utopia of the Seas last week with the Wanderlust campus team. They had a retreat, and as we boarded on Sunday, we all kind of clambered up to the top deck, and we looked north to Cape Canaveral, where the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket was launching. This particular booster it was on its last flight, had been up to space and back 9 times. And it was just the most incredible, lucky thing, right? One of those travel moments that you just always have with you. And it's just, total luck. But as I watched that go up, I was like, look, like if this rocket can go to space and back 9 times, if we can have cars that can drive themselves, if we can do these things as technologists, we can build a tech platform that does everything that a travel agency and a travel advisor need. Like, it's just possible. Now, I will say what these companies have, they have incredible teams. They have incredible technologists. And I think this is the thing that makes Tern truly unique, is that we've assembled a world-class team. You'll hear from some of them today. A lot of them are on the web, most of them are on the webinar that can actually do this. And what really fills my heart with just so much joy is hearing from users who are actually experiencing the early impacts of us realizing this vision. We've got Lauren saying, for the first time ever, the admin and logistics of having a team feels not only manageable, but exciting. Like, how cool to enable a new generation of entrepreneurs to go from advisor to building an agency. I just get so excited about this. And the tech should never have been a barrier to that. You shouldn't have had to be overwhelmed by that. And for the first time, Tern's making that possible. You've got Brandon saying, by moving to our agency to Tern, we uncovered $6,000 in unmissing commissions. Like, this is what can happen if you have a great tool that's got your back. And so eliminating the system fragmentation is critically important to unlocking the efficiency, to getting you time back, and to really supercharging the travel space. But what's also important is that we're leveraging new tools within that platform to help you be more efficient. And this has been a big theme for us this year. We introduced a brand new integration with email. Molly will talk about this later, but that totally changed the way that communication is organized. We introduced templates, ways that you can automate and create custom workflows so that the system's doing work on your behalf. And we really led the industry in terms of introducing artificial intelligence to the platform. And I want to give you just a quick update on how that's going. As you know, Tern launched our first version of AI early this year. We released a custom proprietary model, the only one in the industry to have a model specifically designed for travel advisors. And we ran some numbers, we did some math and some estimating, and Tern AI Assist has saved over 8,100 hours of time. And this is why we get up in the morning, right? Think about what you could do with that. I did the math. It's almost a full year of time that has been saved of manual data entry just by leveraging these AI tools to parse in all kinds of different content. And we've got some cool quotes. You may have seen these in the Facebook group if you're a part of that. You've got Diana saying, I just used this for a real Bucker's itinerary, and it took hours of work, and it finished it in a minute. You've got Linnea saying, I uploaded a PDF of a very long custom itinerary, and it parsed perfectly. I even tried it on another platform, and all I got back was flights and hotels. And this is the proprietary model in place. It's cool. We finally see some other players in the space adding AI. They don't have this AI. Like, we're the only platform out there that has this, and it's really, really exciting. So that's pillar number one. We really believe that in order to move the industry forward, you've got to focus on efficiency. First and foremost, that's consolidating systems, but it's also improving the workflow and the tooling and the technology you have access to, so you can reclaim those valuable hours to rebuild your business, to spend more time with loved ones. But we also believe that we need to modernize the client experience. We led the industry again with a totally reimagined credit card authorization flow in January of this year. It's mind-blowing that that was January. It feels like 3 years ago. But just in January, we released a whole new way to think about credit card authorization, taking clunky and insecure and scary forms and turning it into an online checkout style experience. We'll show you this later in the demo today. Something that really feels professional, that elevates the professionalism of the industry and helps protect your travel business from chargebacks. We introduced a brand new mobile app with offline access, so that even if your clients are on a cruise without Wi-Fi or they're in the air, they can access the beautiful itineraries that you've crafted for them. And we introduced real-time flight updates, so that as your clients are navigating the unpredictable world of travel and certainly flights, they're getting updates on times, on schedules, on cancellations, on gate changes, all in the palm of their hand. And of course, use the advisor getting updated each step of the way. And again, I just love hearing from all of you on how this is improving your business. That's why we do this, is to empower your businesses. And so I love this quote from Harmony posted in the Facebook group, an actual picture from their client. And the client was just so blown away that Harmony had updated their gates and details. They'd never heard from the airline, but they heard from Harmony because of these features. And this is why we do what we do. This is where we think technology can really supercharge your experience, can make you look awesome to your clients. And this is it working, right? We're going to continue to double down on that, crafting those incredible experiences for your clients. Now, the last one that I want to talk briefly about before I hand it over to Molly to talk about everything that's new is this idea of supercharging connections. Again, we believe and understand and feel the relationships that underpin the travel industry. And so when you think about that, there's so much that we will do here long term, but we've really started changing the way that collaboration works in the system today. We have shared library content that makes it easy to share and collaborate with teammates, with agency, or people across an agency, with custom communities, all from within Tern. But not only can you do that with content, you can actually work together on a trip. You can work together to craft itineraries, to follow up, to see, to lean in if somebody's out of office. You can actually collaborate in a real-time way, in a way that no other system offers. And we announced this, we'll demo this later today, and kind of teased it last webinar, but you can now collaborate on tasks as well. So if you're assigning tasks to maybe a virtual assistant or other people on your team, you can now track the status of those tasks, make task assignments all from the system that you're working in. And so we're early in building the future of travel technology. We're building it with each and every one of you, but we're building the all-in-one platform. You go to lots of websites, everyone's claiming to have the all-in-one platform. Nobody has the vision and the audacity to say that we are going to change the trend in the travel industry to bring more business back to each and every one of you, and we're going to use technology to do it. It is long overdue that we reclaimed technology for you all, the travel advisor, and we are proud and privileged to have the opportunity to be the company to do that. Now, if you want to learn more about this, we have a brand new white paper that we are literally announcing and launching today on this webinar. You will get a link to download this and the follow-up. You can also go to our website, and if you stand on, or sit on a page for 7 seconds, you should get a pop-up that's like, do you want to download the webinar or the white paper? And you can download that. We go into detail of what this looks like, particularly through the lens of agency owners. I'm going to hand it off to Molly now, take a break from talking. I want to say thank you for being here. We're going to show you a lot of really cool stuff. And I want to really emphasize the point that you all are helping us build this. You'll see little places where you can kind of watch the votes and all these things. Like, that is your input crafting this. We're building world-class technology for each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. And I'm so excited to hand it over to Molly, who leads all of the product here at Tern.
And speaking of world-class technology, David, it looks like Keynote might be failing us on our collaborative slide share. So we can try again, or you can do the slides for me. So excited to be here, everyone. I've met a lot of you already. I see so many familiar names in the chat. And just before we get into all the things that we've shipped, I really just want to thank each and every one of you. You'll see in a lot of the slides that we're going to be talking about the votes that we've gotten for various feedback in our tool that you can kind of track feedback on. People are taking so much time to share what matters to you, why it matters. What you don't see is the behind the scenes dozens and dozens and dozens of calls we do with advisors on a monthly basis and agency owners to go through new features, to get feedback on things we plan to build, and just to listen about everything you need. I wake up every day just blown away by the level that people care and are willing to put in time to help us. And the final thing before we jump into new stuff, thank you for celebrating with us when we ship these things. I cannot tell you how much it makes each and every one of the team's day when we ship features and you find them before we even announce them and you talk about them in the Facebook community. It's why we do what we do. We just really want to build this technology for you. And it just couldn't be more fun to do so. So with that, I get to talk about all these amazing new features. And David, if you don't mind going to the next slide here.
Try one more time taking control, Molly. We'll see if it works. Otherwise, I'll drop.
Okay, let's see if technology will not fail us. Let's see. It is not letting me, unfortunately.
All right. We're doing it live.
Doing it live. All right. So we're going to start with some major updates to trip planning since our last webinar. Trip planning, as many of you know, is the backbone of Tern, so we're always really trying to invest in this area. So let's go into what we shipped. Pre-travel content. This was a big ticket item. I actually think this had the record as the most voted feedback of all time in Tern. So we knew how important it was for you to be able to build out content before the trip begins, not associated with a specific day. We've already seen some really cool examples of helpful resources and packing lists and city guides and restaurant recommendations. People are really taking advantage. Everyone found this way before we even got a chance to announce it. It's just been really fun to see the reaction. So pre-travel content was a big one. We shipped that just last week. And dates. So believe it or not, dates was between the last webinar and this. Some of you know, many of you know of a world in which dates were quite clunky and hard to use. It was painful for us to watch you have to use our old date format. So we did a major update to now regionalize your date formatting. So it should just always feel intuitive no matter where you are. Currencies, currencies, currencies. Every single week, it seems like we're adding a new currency. Between last webinar and now, dozens more have been added. Keep them coming. We just want to support every currency you need to seamlessly convert and work with your clients. And another really big one of the most important features to you all, it's kind of like a fun problem to have. People were having dozens and dozens and dozens of trips that they had at Tern going at any one time. And you needed better tools to organize and sort on those trips. And so we launched date sorting along with these other options to help you make more sense of your trip board. All right, so another key part of trip planning, as David talked about, is working together on trips. And there have been some really exciting improvements in that area since the last time. Starting with trip tasks. So now when you're working on trips together, you actually have a shared task list. So you can see all tasks associated with the trip, whether you're the trip owner or others working on the trip with that person. You can assign tasks to each other within that trip, get emails when tasks are assigned to you, and manage all of your tasks across every trip in your global task list. And then for those of you who don't know, you might be thinking about Tern or newer to Tern. We're actually the only travel CRM that directly integrates with your email inbox. What this means is you don't have to do any clunky email forwarding to special lists. We just sync in those emails that you're getting outside of Tern in your work inbox into our system. And you can then add those specific emails to your trips. You can also send emails from Tern to your clients, and they come directly from you. They show up in the sent box of your email client. So it's a fully integrated system like you see in CRMs outside of the travel industry, kind of the best practices from those other systems. And one exciting update is that now, as a trip collaborator, you can see all of those emails that have been added to the trip. So imagine you get a flight confirmation into your Gmail and you add it to the trip, that flight confirmation for one of your clients. Now, anyone working on the trip together, maybe it's a VA, maybe it's your agency owner, they can reference that email, they can see that flight, they can parse those flight details into a Tern trip to automatically pull those details in, and everybody has the same shared context for the email communication of that trip and can send emails to travelers as well. So that was a really exciting update. And one more is coming soon. So we work with an email and calendar integration provider in order to power all of this. And we have spent a lot of time upgrading to the latest version of their system, which comes with a lot of benefits. One thing that hasn't changed is just how secure it all is. For those of you who were on the webinar, gosh, like almost a year ago, maybe a little bit shorter than that, we talked about the 6-month security review we went through with Google in order to make this possible. So data security is always first and foremost to anything that we're doing with your integrated email. And with the integration upgrade, we also expect 2 times faster performance and a much more reliable system. The other really exciting benefit is that your scheduler, so you can sync both your email and your calendar so that clients can grab time with you automatically as a part of your forms or direct links. So the scheduler itself, first, I know Brad, he's talking in a little bit. This will make him very happy. It's just a way better design and user experience for the scheduler. It also comes with some neat new features. We won't spoil everything, but things like being able to have multiple participants added to specific events. It also will come with Google Meet and Microsoft Teams integrations. And while it doesn't come with an out-of-the-box Zoom integration, which we know is a big request, we are now able to build that, whereas in the previous version, we were not able to. So, little plug, if a Zoom integration for calendar is important to you, make sure you go and upvote that in our feedback tool. We can definitely prioritize that if that matters a lot to all of you. All right, and then the final piece for me for now is commission and reporting. So you're doing all of this hard work to plan your trips in Tern. We want all of the tracking of payments to get paid and reporting to just happen seamlessly without you having to think about these things. So since the last webinar, we launched integrated commission tracking for advisors. So as an advisor, you now see on all of your trips, specifically, you see commission that you've received, commission that's overdue and upcoming from those suppliers. You also have a single dashboard to manage all of your commission across every single trip. So you can track things like at scale, what are all of the overdue bookings? And then reporting works automatically. So you don't have to do anything else. And you can access these sales reports to see your bookings, your gross sales, received and expected commission, all in a single dashboard with no duplicate data entry. And then finally, we know that the day that you mark something as paid in Tern is not necessarily the day you actually paid it. So about a month ago, we launched the ability to actually adjust those payment dates to make sure your reporting is accurate and that the client experience is clear as to when things were actually paid. Okay. So last big chunk of updates before our first demo, I'm going to pass it over to Brad to talk about some of the beautiful changes we made on the client experience.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Molly. And yeah, it's just so incredible to see all of the things we've released just since the last webinar in August. For a quick intro, I'm Brad. I lead design here at Tern, and I'm going to highlight 3 quick improvements we've made to make it easier for you to control and to show up great for your clients. So the first one here is around streamlining and refining itineraries. We've got a ton of feedback, as always, around some improvements we could make to the itinerary. It's been incredible since day one at Tern how much folks love the style of the Tern itinerary. Both clients and travelers value how modern it is, how clean it feels, but there's always ways we can continue to make that better. So in addition to adding the pre-travel content, like Molly mentioned earlier, we've also adjusted the itinerary format to remove distractions, which helps your content stand out. So one example there is we got rid of all of the empty days that were showing up on itineraries. Before, if you had a long trip and there were a couple like at leisure days or anything there where you didn't have content, we just reminded travelers like nothing planned today, nothing planned today. So instead, those things just don't show up and you don't have to do anything special to show or hide them. The second thing is we introduced a new itinerary style that better uses the space on the screen, especially for activities and content that doesn't have images associated with it. Before, the default style would have kind of like a gray box as a place where we're encouraging you to put an image, but if you didn't put anything there, it was still showing just a gray box with an icon to your clients. So now the default will just fill up that space. It'll be much nicer looking for clients. You don't have to add images to every single thing that you're working on. The next thing we did to improve the experience here on the itinerary was we introduced sections in the content for our hotel library. So as an advisor in Tern, you can pull in content from, I think, millions of properties around the world. And now that's broken up by section. So it's easier for your clients to follow if you just leave it as is, or if you want to make adjustments to certain sections in there, super easy to highlight exactly what you're looking for that you want to adjust. The last piece on the client-facing improvements here is that we've added options for pricing display in the itinerary. We've made it easier to adjust these details. So at any time, you can toggle between showing a full pricing breakdown for your clients just a total cost or nothing at all. Super useful if when your clients are traveling, you don't want to constantly remind them how much they've paid for the trip when they just want to see what they're up to next in their trip. All right, so Molly and I are going to be back in a bit to share more about agencies and groups. But for now, I'm going to hand it over to David to show how all of these incredible features come to life in a live demo.
All right. Well, if this is your first Tern webinar, you know that we love a live demo where we show you the actual product and we take you through it. And I have the pleasure of highlighting a lot of what we just talked about. And as I alluded to earlier, we're actually going to start at the very beginning, which is a client coming to your website and starting the trip request process. And we're going to take that all the way through submitting that booking to your agency if your agency is partnered with Tern. And so we're going to try and do all of that in the next 15 minutes and show you how Tern really thinks about this end-to-end experience. So again, this is a fake travel website meant to kind of mock up what yours may look like. We've got this form linked out right here that says, let's get started. Now, in this case, the traveler may have already started adding some details. And so I can come in here, add a phone number. And now once that's saved, go ahead and click on the next option here. Now, in this case, this is a trip request form. If you're new to Tern, this is a part of our form builder. You can build out custom forms. And in this case, we've built out a form asking what's going on. Now, we'll say in this case, the travelers are looking for a last minute trip to Maui. And so we can say you're looking to do a last minute trip to Maui. We can call this something like, I don't know, maybe we want to put a little flower in it and say that we're going to do our Maui getaway. It's always hard to type with an audience. There we go. And we can say that we're actually looking to travel as early as Sunday, very last minute here. So we'll go ahead and fill this out. And again, we'll say that we're going through November 2nd. Now we're going through this fairly quickly, but again, this is a customizable form. You can build this to look whatever you want within the Tern experience. We also have a fully integrated terms and conditions feature that lets you collect opt-in to that. You can manage planning fees through this, but we're keeping this really simple for the sake of the demo. So I'm going to go ahead and click on submit, and you'll see that I get a nice little kind of animation showing me that this trip request has been shared and we are now good to go. Again, really focusing on the aesthetic and the experience of the client's experience here so that they can really have that your professional feeling kind of submission process. Now, again, we think a lot about how all these different steps integrate with one another. And so as a travel advisor, if we go back to your view and we refresh this, you'll notice that that trip is automatically created in our Kanban style board here. We can see the Maui getaway on the left-hand side. And so this is kind of that first step of integration. Of course, you could find the submission under the forms tool, but because that was a trip request form, we can automatically create that trip. Now, while we're on this page, and before we click in and actually start building that trip out, I'll highlight a few of those new things that Molly and Brad talked about. One, you'll notice this new display option. This is where you can decide whether or not you want this to be a board view, a list view, and if you want to sort it by updated time, trip name, date, you can really start to manage that. We've also cleaned up the filters so that you can decide when and where and how you want to filter these trips. It's really helpful to manage that. And of course, you can still search and create new trips manually from the right-hand side here. All of this is drag and drop. So as you're kind of managing this, you can just drag a trip to these different stages and use that to trigger automations, task creation, all kinds of things behind the scenes. But for this demo, we're going to be working on this Maui getaway trip that we just created. So let's go ahead and click in on the Maui getaway. And you can see right away that we have an overview of those travelers. Now, again, everything is integrated in Tern. So because we have Philip Turner as a part of our contact database, it automatically pulled in some of the key details about that travel profile. If we wanted to add additionals, maybe Jane Turner's coming with them, we can go ahead and search for those just by clicking Manage Travelers and searching for Jane and adding that. And again, it's going to pull in those details. So Tern is pulling from your CRM. It is your CRM. It's also your trip management. It's your form builder. And everything has been designed to holistically integrate with one another. Now, I'm a very visual person, so the first thing that I love to do is click over on the itinerary here on the left-hand side, and I can start to edit that itinerary by clicking on these three icons right here and clicking on Edit Itinerary. Now, so that I can have a quick visual of that, I like to search Tern's integrated royalty-free image database, maybe just for Maui, and I'll add this photo of the sunrise over the volcano on Maui by clicking on the little plus icon. Now I could add this. I could just say, this is our Maui itinerary. I could add different details here, but we'll call that good for now and just click on update. Now you'll notice right away that we've got this trip detail section, and I'm going to go ahead and add something to that. But before I do, I want to call attention to something that is also new in Tern. We got a lot of feedback, especially for people that are moving over from other itinerary builders, and there's a lot of people that are moving over from other itinerary builders, that they want flexibility in how they actually start to lay this out. And so we have this toggle over on the top right here, where you can decide if you want to have more of a board view, or excuse me, a horizontal view, where each day is like that, or a toggle between the vertical view. And again, this is something we shipped at the last webinar, but it's a good reminder, something that you can really start to decide how you want Tern to be laid out. Now, I have saved a Hawaii packing list in my library, and I'm going to add that to the trip details. Doesn't really make sense on the day, because by the time October 27th rolls around, they are in flight to Maui, so packing list is too late. But I want to give them those resources to be able to access. And so to do that, I'm going to drag over an activity library item. And in this case, I'm going to grab that Hawaii packing list that I have right here. Now I could click in to preview it, be like, yep, this looks good. And I can add it to the trip as easily as clicking on add to trip. Now I could add other information blocks. Information blocks now feature media and documents. You can really add an extra context that you want there. You could add visas or documents, whatever makes sense for your trip that you're planning, you can add right to the top there with the drag and drop ease of everything else in Tern. Now, let's go ahead and add a few more things to this itinerary and show you how easy it is to build out an itinerary in Tern. First, we'll add a hotel. And again, everything in Tern is drag and drop. So we'll just drag over a lodging item here. And I'm going to go ahead and use that property database that Brad mentioned and search for the Grand Wailea. So I'm going to type that in here. And that is a Waldorf Astoria resort. So I'll select that. Now you'll notice that this is a hotel that's in Tern's hotel database, and we can see right away the new structure to these descriptions. They make so much more sense when you have these headers that provide the context of what the information is about. But what we'll also start to do here is define the check-in and check-out time. So I'll say that they're going to be here for the entirety of the vacation. You can say that checkout is at 11 a.m. and check-in is maybe at 4 p.m. Now, I like to have different check-in, check-out objects on the itinerary. So I can just toggle this over to separate. And now I can actually start to personalize what that looks like on the itinerary. So again, the theme here is giving you control over how you want to lay out this content in the itinerary. So we can say checking in to the Grand Wailea. And maybe we want to make it a little bit more Hawaiian on the way out. We can say aloha to the Grand Wailea. Since aloha is hello and goodbye, we can actually start to kind of personalize that, make it a little bit more friendly. Okay, feeling good about how that's going to show up on the itinerary. But let's do a couple more things just to get this ready for our clients. First, I'm going to go over to the media. You'll notice that flashing little kind of red dot indicates that there is a lot of images that have been pulled over automatically. And you can decide which of these you want to highlight to your client just by clicking on the plus icon. So I'll add a couple more of these. Maybe they're really kind of beachy, and maybe it's more couple vibe. You can choose which of these images make the most sense based on your clients. And I'll go ahead and say, this nice beach resorts, actually maybe this photo of the couple walking is going to be what I want to feature. So you can decide what shows up on the itinerary. Now you could also start to search for royalty-free images. You can paste in images from the website here. There's a lot of flexibility in how you bring the media in. Okay, we've structured the itinerary. We've added some media. Now we're going to click on booking and pricing here. And this is where the magic of Tern really starts to come to life. Instead of having the pricing and then having to do separate invoice or credit card authorization form, all we have to do is come in here and we can say that it's a $9,500 flat rate fee for this. Again, here are all those currencies that Tern supports, in addition to having daily currency conversion. So if it is something you're booking in another currency, they can see what it looks like as a traveler in their currency. We can say final payment's coming up quick because this is a last minute thing. And the supplier that we're booking this through is the Waldorf Astoria Hotel and Resorts. And we can confirm the cancellation policy, add those details. And last but not least, I'm going to add my commission expectation. Right from this screen, it's now going to feed into my reporting. So as an advisor, I know when I'm getting paid, how much I'm getting paid. I can make sure that I did get paid and I'm not losing those commissions all in one place. We're not entering this into 3 different systems. It's one spot. All right. Hotel is feeling good. Let's do 2 more quick things before I show you what the itinerary looks like from a client experience. And then we do a credit card authorization, we submit the booking, and I hand it back over to Molly and Brad to talk about some of the agency updates. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to add a dinner at Mama's Fish House, one of the kind of most famous restaurants on the island. Now, of course, I could manually enter this in. I could drag in the kind of activity. We'll say that we're going to go on the 28th. I could manually fill out all of these fields, add some images, but this is where AI can really help. So I'm going to say dinner reservation at 7 p.m. And I'm just going to add the link here. Click submit, and I'm going to let AI do its thing. I'm going to do the same thing actually and click on media. I don't want to copy and paste a bunch of photos. I don't have time for that. So I'm just click on web link, paste in the images here, and let the system do its thing. Now, by the time we do that, we come back, boom, all the data on Mama's Fish House, including a description, the time zone, the address, ready to go. I click on add, boom, filled out for me. Toggle over to media. You can see it's pulled in the media for me automatically. How much time does that save? We can start to see where those 8,100 hours come from. So that's good. But we know it's one of the most popular restaurants on the island. Maybe we want to have somebody on our team give the restaurant a call just to confirm that reservation for our clients. So we can do that under tasks using the task collaboration tool. All we have to do is click on tasks within the context of the trip, go up to the top right and click on add task. And I'm going to say that we're going to create a new one-off task. And we're going to say confirm reservation at Mama's Fish House. Now, I don't really need to have time to do this. Maybe I'm traveling, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to assign this to Molly, and I'm going to say that this is due on the 26th. We could add additional context. But what's super cool about collaboration in Tern is that you can see we automatically associate with this the trip. So Molly has the context on the trip. They have the emails, all the information necessary to act on this and make those confirmations available within the context of the system. And the best part is that when you look at the overview of the tasks, you'll be able to see not only who's assigned to, but what the status is. So once Molly marks this as complete, I'll see that it's been complete, and there's email notifications on both sides. So again, bringing that collaboration and task management right within the system. All right, I want to do one more thing just to show off the AI a little bit more. And let's say that they're going to do something on the 29th, the road to Hana. Now, this isn't something that we're booking for them. It's not really even something that we have to put together, but as kind of an added service, we want to give them some ideas of what they may want to do on this road trip that they're doing. Now, of course, we could manually build this out, but I'm a big fan of AI and saving time. So we'll say on October 30th, my clients are driving the road to Hana from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Create a list of things they may want to stop and see. Now, we get asked a lot about city guides. This is how I think it's a really cool way to create really personalized content for your clients without doing a whole bunch of work. And so if I click on submit here and I give this a minute or two, it's actually going to populate a whole list of activities that our clients may want to do on the road to Hana. And it will take us literally 30 seconds. You can see we've got these different activities that are coming in, got information block that's being brought in on the kind of things that they may want to do. And I can now start to add that to the itinerary. Again, clicking on this, we've got the recommended sites and stops. And you can really kind of massage this to have it give you, detailed activities, give you driving direction, like whatever you may want to do. But here's the thing, here's the recipe that we believe is the future of travel. Artificial intelligence, incredible time saver, but the accuracy is maybe not 100%. And so we think that when you have the power of AI working for you as an advisor and you're the quality assurance layer, not only does it save you a lot of time, not only does it make you look awesome, but it delivers a better client experience that they could get themselves because they have you quality assuring it, kind of checking it. All right, with that, we've built the itinerary. I'm going to go up to the top right and click on publish and share it with my clients. You can see that this is our email integration in action. And of course, I could write a custom email here, but I'm going to go ahead and click on apply a template. And I'm going to access a template that my agency or my community has shared with me. I saw a chat that was like, oh, is this only for agencies? And if you're not a part of an agency, we would love to talk to your agency. But you can also create communities. And so we see this happen with a lot of larger agencies that haven't moved to Tern yet. They're creating communities and sharing content with one another. And you can see that under the shared with me. And so what I can do is I can start to say, itinerary, I'm going to use this itinerary share template, and boom, it's going to bring in that template for me automatically. And with that, I can click on send. All right, so we've built an itinerary from a form being submitted to now. What we're going to do is switch over to a new view, which is the traveler view. So Tern is unique in that we've got a full traveler portal. They can log in and they can start to see all their trips, past and present. They can access these trips on desktop, as we're looking at now, but also via the native iOS and Android applications that we have and talked about earlier. So what I'm going to do now as a traveler, just put on my traveler hat. We're switching around here a little bit, but we're now a traveler looking at the trip that you as an advisor just crafted. And if I click in here to the Maui Getaway, you can start to see the beautiful new itinerary in Tern. We've got this more vertically oriented view. It's much cleaner. I can click in on the details. It's interactive. I can see all this information in one place. And here's the details about the kind of road to Hana that we populated automatically. Here's our custom checkout information, all in one place. And again, you have a lot of opportunities to customize this further. But what you'll also notice is authorized payments. This was something, again, that we wanted to eliminate the inefficiency of the client emailing you and being like, okay, it looks good, let's do it. And then you have to go and manually create an invoice and then send the invoice to the client. And it's like, whoa, like this should be like checking out on Amazon. And that's what we built. As a client, I could click authorize payments. I can review that information. I can see my saved credit card and re-enter a CVV code. It's a fake credit card, just so everyone knows. Click on save. And now, just like that, I can agree to those terms and conditions, do that e-signature. This, by the way, is designed to help protect your business from chargebacks. Click on submit. And just like that, I've authorized that charge. So we think about that differentiated client experience. We think this is one of the great examples of that, is like really making this streamlined, really making this intuitive. And you can see the breakdown of what's been paid, what's authorized. This is not a credit card authorization demo, so we won't go through all of it. But it's important to note that installments, deposits, payment plans, like we've got it all supported. So excited for that. All right, so that's the client experience. We're going back and forth again, so bear with me. We're now back on the travel advisor, and I'm going to show you one more thing, which is how you can mark this as booked. And if you're partnered with an agency that's using Tern, how easy it is for you to submit a sale. So I like to do that under the authorization tab. You can see right away that we have this hotel that is now in an authorized state. And so all I have to do as a travel advisor to actually make this booking is to click in on this, scroll down, and I can see that this is fully authorized. I have permission to use this card for $9,500. And I can click on view card details and access this information and use that to make the purchase on the supplier site. Once I've done that, I click as mark as paid. As we talked about, if you didn't actually pay it the day that you click that button, you can backdate it or update that as you'd like. And if I wanted to submit this to an agency, I could do a couple of things. Usually, once you've made the payment, you want to come down here and enter a confirmation number in that your clients will also be able to access. So I'll just pretend like the confirmation number is this. But again, that's going to show up for your clients. And now all I have to do to submit this booking, if your agency is using Tern, is click mark as booked. I see all the information. And this is the future of sales reports. Like, same information you used to make the proposal, same information your client approved to do credit card authorization, no double data entry. I've got multiple, you can just submit this, boom, your agency has everything they need to reconcile that commission when it comes in. This is the future, we think, of the travel industry, vertically integrating all these tools into one place so that you as an advisor can focus on building relationships with your clients, crafting incredible experiences for them, and the technology should be the one that's managing the flow of data to all these different places. And so we're super excited about this, and I'm really excited to hand it back over to Molly and Brad as we get back into the slides.
All right, I'm back, and we're going to do take two with our keynote slides. And I think I'm golden this time, David. So no need for you to do the slides. All right, so as David talked about, we got all the way through to the booking showing up for the agency. So we have been hard at work improving the agency back office features to bring that end-to-end vision to life. And so what we started with since the last webinar was the ability to add supplier payments directly within Tern. So you can log those statements, those checks that you're getting from suppliers. You can log them if you get an invoice or a wire. You can put those things in Tern. Then all of those bookings that your agents are making, again, without any duplicate data entry, are showing up to be automatically reconciled with these statements that you're adding in. So you can see what bookings actually match against this supplier. You can then flag things like unclaimed bookings. So let's imagine there's one or two that don't actually account for kind of all of the revenue you've gotten from that supplier. You can flag those things as unclaimed bookings, access them in your unclaimed bookings tab, export those things to agents to make sure that you're figuring out, which ones are ready to be claimed. And you can do that all in Tern. So that was the last really major building block for some of those foundational features for reconciliation. There's a lot more to come, don't worry. But this was a huge step forward to making that whole back office possible. And then we also added a few other really important changes as a part of all of this. So the first thing is that we know when suppliers pay you for bookings, you may actually expect to get more commission for that same booking from that supplier. So now what you can do is say, hey, I got $50 from the supplier, but I know that they're going to send me more commission post-travel, for example. So I'm going to mark that as expecting more commission. And that way I can still track it to make sure that they're paying me on time. And when I'm trying to reconcile this against a future supplier statement, it will still show up there nicely as a booking. The next thing that we added, which was another top voted feature, is that we know that sometimes you want to be able to mark things as booked that you're not actually expecting commission for. And we actually saw people trying to get around things showing up when they shouldn't by canceling them afterwards, which created other issues. And so now what we support is the ability to mark activities or anything in Tern that you're booking as not commissionable. So you can still mark them that way, but they will not muddy up those commission tracking reports. So that was another really big win and top voted feature from our community. All right, so those are the biggest changes to the back office. You're going to get a full demo of those things from Katie in just a minute here. But let's imagine you're an agency owner and you're excited to have a single system for your agents where they don't have to do all of that duplicate data entry and you can manage everything through the tools that you just saw. How do you empower your agents to be set up for success in a brand new technology, or maybe they're new to the industry or what have you? And that's where collaboration comes in. So this is so important for agencies as well. And the first thing that we updated as a part of collaboration is new ways of collaborating around content. So as many of you know, previously, before this past webinar, you could build out things like shared email templates, forms, trips. You could build out all of these things in the Tern library. And then anytime a new agent came in, they would have instant access to the most up-to-date version of that agency's shared content. What we've added since then is the ability, as David demoed, to collaborate around a task list. So not only can you set your agents up with those workflows and all of that shared content, you can go into their trips and make sure that everyone's on track and all of the tasks are there. The other thing, so just for folks who aren't aware, as an agency owner or agency administrator, trips that are created by your agents are automatically shared with you. So you have instant access to all of those trips. And another really exciting new change that we've talked about, but matters again just a lot for you as an agency owner, is that email collaboration. So for every single trip within your agency, you're also seeing the context of all of that email now on those trips accessible immediately in Tern. Okay. We are not even close to done. We have so many fun things coming up on our agency roadmap. Two for November of this year. The ability to assign trips to others on your team. So we know an important use case is trips may come in at the agency level, for example, and you want to reassign ownership to an agent, for example. You'll be able to do that with that feature update. And then the other big thing for this year is the contact sharing. So we know that seeing contacts across your entire agency and having access to those contacts is so important to, again, effectively collaborate and work together. And so that's another thing we have slated for around the November timeline on our agency roadmap. And then we have a lot planned for early next year. We thought it would be fun to call out two specific examples, but this is not comprehensive. We have a long list of things we plan to add in the first half of next year. But the first fun highlight is that we want to continue to invest in AI to save you time. And imagine you have dozens of agents and hundreds of bookings that you're trying to reconcile to these supplier statements. We believe that technology can help do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So that will be extremely exciting to enable. And then we know consortium integrations are top of mind for a lot of folks. It's kind of a must-have checkbox. We are in discussions with both of these folks. So more of those integrations are coming in full support next year. All right, I'm so excited to pass it over to Katie to show you some of these things live.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Molly. Hi, everybody. My name is Katie. I'm one of the co-founders and the COO here at Tern. And I'm going to go ahead and actually stop that screen share and start the right screen share. Okay, perfect. Hopefully everybody can see my screen okay. Feel free to just holler. If not, I'm going to be demoing some of the features that Molly just gave us a voiceover on. So to start, I'm actually wearing the hat as the agency owner in this case. And to start us off, we're going to spend some time talking about the collaboration features first. So I'm going to go to this library tab up here in the top navigation bar. And what you can immediately see here is the ability to add content into your library is incredibly robust in Tern. You can add activity templates, itinerary templates. You can add forms, emails, tasks, automations, workflows, you name it. But the real value here as the agency owner is being able to share and collaborate on that content, be able to share that material with your team. So there's a couple of ways to do that. The first, I'm going to go ahead and click into this Amsterdam city guide to start. Those details are going to populate. And in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see this share button. I'm going to go ahead and click that. And what you're going to immediately see here is we've got a few different ways to share. I can share with an individual just by adding their email and then inviting them. I can share with a community, or I can share with my agency. So I'm going to toggle this on to allow any advisor within my agency to find and use this template. I'm going to go ahead and click done. And when I do that for any of my advisors that I've now shared that item with, they're going to see that in their shared with me column inside of their templates. Now you can rinse and repeat that exact same behavior across not only activity templates, but again, itineraries, forms, emails, tasks, automations, and workflows. The second way to share content is if I go ahead and click these three dots under actions over here, I can actually just edit the sharing settings directly. And then I can go ahead and toggle on and also make this one available to my team. So you can see that sharing material and sharing content across your entire agency is going to be a really, really important way to enable your advisors. So when they get started, there's material ready for them. There's content ready for them. They're not seeing sort of an empty slate where they have to start building up their own content. So we see this being a really, really important piece for agency owners as they start to dive into Tern and start to kind of roadmap, how am I going to bring in the rest of my team? These collaboration and sort of templating features are quite key. Okay, next up on the collaboration front, I'm going to actually go back to my trips. And we know that David just created that Maui getaways. Now, you've got this shared with me column here. Now, me as an agency owner, I am pre-shared all of the trips across my advisors. By default, I can see all of that content. So I'm going to actually filter down because we know that David named it Maui Getaway, and I can see it right here. Now, let's say, and again, already pre-shared with me because I'm the agency owner. Now, let's say that David shot me a call earlier today and he said, hey, Katie, I got to step out for a family thing. Can you cover sending this client that pre-checklist that I need to send via email ahead of their trip? We know they're traveling really quickly. Would you mind getting that out? With email collaboration, no problem. I totally can. So I'm going to go to the email section of this trip. I'm going to go ahead and click new. And from here, I'm going to find the traveler that I'm going to send that pre-departure check-in email to. And I'm actually going to apply a template. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply my checking in ahead of departure template. It's going to populate, including that trip link variable, which means it's going to link in that trip directly. Now, one thing you'll notice is you saw David earlier send an email to the clients when he was going ahead and publishing that itinerary for them that had the same branded cover image right here. Now, for me as an agency owner, that consistent branding is super key. That's why I created a bunch of email templates that I then shared with my team for them to be able to use and access. Okay, once we have this where we want it, we're going to go ahead and click send, and off it goes. And the most important thing here is that the next time David goes in to look at this trip, he's going to have all of this visibility. We have this shared context because I'm on this trip and he can see the email that I sent and when it was sent to the client. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and pause there on collaboration. But as you can see, collaboration is going to be so, so key. Major, major unlock for you and your teams to be able to share content, collaborate, assign each other to tasks, cover for each other when you're out of office, all of those sort of critical functions that we know you need to be able to support each other. Okay, from here, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to jump over to this commission tab. I'm the agency owner, and it's time for me to reconcile that booking that David just submitted. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create a supplier statement first, and I'm going to do that by clicking add statement. And what I typically recommend is adding a statement name that has, sort of a thoughtful naming convention. It's good for you to think about what this would mean for you. But typically I suggest doing the supplier name. Where's that statement coming from? And the date of today. So I know when I'm actually processing this statement. Now I can adjust the type, but for this particular statement, it was received in ACH format. And the sender was Waldorf Astoria. And the total amount for this was $5,456 was the total ACH received. And I can, of course, adjust the currency. We've talked about currency a little bit today, but it's important to note that you can change that on these statements as well. And I can always adjust the date received, right? It's decently uncommon that we might be processing commission on the exact same day that we received it. So I can always change it to the date of receipt. Now, in this case, I'm going to leave it as is because I actually did receive it today. And I'm going to go ahead and create that statement. All right, you're immediately going to see in these top 3 buckets, we have the total statement amount. We have the amount that's been reconciled, which rightfully so is $0 as of now. And then we have the amount total unclaimed. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and actually use these filters on the right-hand side to start to sort of distill down my bookings list. I've got a lot of bookings across my agency. So I'm just going to start typing in Waldorf, and that's going to start to bring up the suppliers that could apply to this particular statement. So I can see here right at the very bottom, the booking that David just submitted. So I'm going to go ahead and just by clicking this plus button, super easy to bring it up into this statement. When I go ahead and do that, now this is going to pop up so I can make any needed edits to this particular booking. Now I'm going to say it's eligible for payout today, but you can imagine here, perhaps you only do your payouts on the 15th and the 30th of the month. Great, you can change it and it will be on an on hold status until that date arrives. You can always update the agent split if this were personal travel, and the arrangement that I have with my advisors is that they get 100% of the commission for their personal travel. I can change that here as needed. Otherwise, I'm going to be able to see down here the total payout amounts for myself as the agency and for David. Now I can also see that we have this checkbox for if you are expecting additional payments. So we make tracking when you're expecting additional payments super, super easy. And then the last thing that I really, really love about this is I can toggle directly to the trip right here if I need to get additional detail. No more back and forth, no more going back and forth with your advisors to ask for that clarity because it's all in one system. It's just right here for you to use and access. Now this is all looking good. So I'm going to go ahead and say save and close. Now we can immediately see that this reconciled amount has gone up to the total amount. And I'm going to go ahead and actually also add an unclaimed payment to this. So I'm going to say add unclaimed, and the amount for that unclaimed amount is $1,234. The supplier is Waldorf Astoria Hotel and Resorts. And I actually don't know the agent because it's unclaimed. I do know the client, so I'm going to add that in here. And I know the confirmation number. So I'm going to go ahead and add, I also have the booking start and end date. So I'm going to say it's October 1st or August 1st rather, and then it's going to end on August 9th. So I can go ahead and create that, and that's now going to jump into this second unclaimed bucket. So now let's talk for a minute about unclaimed commissions. So when I go back to this commission tab, we can see that we have this unclaimed category right here. I'm going to click into that, and what I'm going to do is export that report. And that's going to give me the report that I'm now going to send to my advisors. I'm going to say, hey team, you have 2 weeks, please go in, reconcile your bookings and make sure all the correct details are added in Tern so I can go ahead and pay these out. Okay, we're getting to the final step of this entire end-to-end flow, which is actually reconciling the commission and paying it out. So we're going to go to this agent payouts tab, and now we're going to go ahead and we're going to filter on the right-hand side. Again, I have a lot of different stuff in here, a lot of stuff that's already been paid out, some stuff on hold, but I'm going to say I'm ready to pay out what is ready. And now if I look at the very bottom, there's that payment that's getting ready to go out to David for the booking that we just reconciled. Okay, from here, I can go ahead and also export it. Now, this is really key if for today, let's say you're using something like a QuickBooks to manage your accounting. Now, as Molly alluded to, and as David alluded to, we are building the end-to-end system. We will replace the entirety of the back office experience. We are just starting on that journey, and we have the better part of the first half of next year to really, really nail the rest of this. So we will be the financial tracking system of record. But in the meantime, if you do need to export, you have that functionality to do so. I can also mark all of these automatically as paid by clicking this button right here. Now, when I go ahead and do that, it's going to clear it out from the agent payouts tab. And if I go to this reporting tab, now I'm going to claim back the hat of the advisor, because what's really cool about when you do this is now in the received commissions tab, your advisors can see what is coming to them in the way of received commission and what is still outstanding in the way of expected commission. And that is the full end-to-end process for how you're going to reconcile those bookings. Okay, I have 2 little baby bonuses. They're actually not baby. These are a huge, huge deal, especially for agency owners. The first one, I'm going to actually toggle back to commission, and I'm going to go to this bookings tab. Now, we got this sneaky little 3 dots here. What do those mean? I'm going to go ahead and click that. And you can see we've now introduced the option to import historical bookings. For the agency owners in the room, this is so, so key for accurate sales data and reporting. You can now bring all of your historical data directly into Tern. And we use the same AI features to map and smart match the headers, so you don't have to worry about having a perfectly customized and cleaned up file. We're going to do all that heavy lifting for you. And then last but not least, one other amazing add to our import feature. If I go into my contacts tab and I click import contacts, we now allow the ability to import past trips. So from importing past trips, you can now see on a dedicated contact record all the trips that person has taken with you, not just the trips they've taken in turn. So that historical record keeping is critical, and we don't want, that's what we want. We want to make this migration super, super easy. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share. And we're going to spend a few minutes talking about sort of this migration experience. We are so, so keen on making sure that the migration of your data is seamless into Tern. We want to reduce that barrier to entry as much as possible and set your team up for success. That's so, so key. So the next kind of major thing, so we are basically like, we're just obsessed with whatever we can do to make it easier to get you to move over to Tern. And we want to make that as easy as possible. So that in addition to importing more of your data, we have now opened up, we've always done one-on-one meetings, but we've opened that up even further across our support and our partnerships teams. We've expanded training. We do one-on-one trainings. We do dedicated kickoffs trainings for our agency partnerships. And then we, of course, have our beloved Turn and Learn. How are we doing all of this? So we have been scaling up our team across the board, but here's a look at our partnerships team, which we've been scaling up for the last couple of months. Our girl Emily is no longer flying solo. And we are so, so excited about this because these are the people that are going to be working with you as the agency owner, not just to get Tern into your hands, though that is a big part of it, but to help you strategize the future of your business. Tern is going to be a massive, massive unlock for how you get to where you want to go and how you grow the way you want to grow as a business. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Brad to talk about groups.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Katie. It's so fun to see, like, I don't know, to see it actually happening. We're in the weeds all the time, just like designing the features, getting them built, but we don't often zoom out and like actually get a chance, even as a team, to see how all the pieces fit together. So thank you so much for demoing all of that. And now I already see the chat blowing up. I know this is like the highest pressure part of the webinar. We want to talk about groups, and we're so excited to give an update here. This is like become a joke now, where like every day in the Facebook group, somebody's asking like, where are groups? Where are groups? So we're getting there, and we're gonna give you the latest. I'm really excited to share that like groups is our primary focus this fall. So, well, Molly mentioned we have, of course, other things we'll be doing, like some of these additional agency features, and always reacting and responding quickly to feedback that we're getting about our current product. This fall is really dedicated to groups. And we have officially kicked off the engineering work for groups. Last time we chatted, we shared some early prototypes and some mocks where we are in research phase, but we have actually done the eng work. It's become an internal joke about groups being demoable at this webinar. There are things that are hidden behind little toggles on our side that you can't see yet, but if you stay tuned over the next couple of weeks, you'll start to see these things coming out. And now that eng work has kicked off, we do have a better sense of how this work is actually going to play out. Like all things at Tern, while we have big dreams here, we're going to separate them down into smaller pieces of value that we can continue to give you, ideally every single week, to make your lives easier as we, continue to build out the future of groups in Tern. So would love to share a little bit more about how we're thinking about that strategy, and then I'll hand it over to Molly to give you some specifics on the timeline. Before we get too deep into that, do want to just say thank you again to all of the advisors, agency owners, DMCs, everyone who's taken the time to sit down with us and tell us your stories about managing groups. Thanks to you, we are so much more well-informed about what we need to do here to build a great groups product in Tern. and what types of challenges no product has been able to solve yet, to give us some big goals for what we're going to do this fall and going forward. So again, thank you so much. Your time that you've given us is going to pay off for every advisor who gets to use Tern to manage their groups. When we think about groups, we have three kind of core design principles behind the work. The first one is making sure that when we add groups to Tern, they, like everything else we tried to demo today, feel like an integrated end-to-end experience. There's a lot of pressure for us to get groups out the door as fast as possible. Like literally people are asking us every day, but we want to make sure we do that in a way that doesn't reintroduce some of these problems we're trying to solve. So we're focusing on making sure it feels integrated, feels like a complete and comprehensive part of the Tern product. The second piece is making sure that the client experience is top tier. Well, we know the client experience in Tern today is already incredible. People love the itineraries. What we know is that there's even more pressure for groups because you don't have that one-on-one relationship with a lot of these clients who are going to be booking. So you need to make sure that your content, your trips that you're proposing and trying to sell really stand out and feel like things where people see it for the first time and they're like, oh yes, I need to book that now, today. And then the last piece is making sure that the decisions we make around groups really stand up to the scale of these trips that you're planning. And today in Tern, most folks are planning smaller trips with like a family or maybe a couple, a small group of friends. And the way you design for a few travelers on a trip is a little bit different than when you're handling a group with hundreds of travelers on a trip. The things you need to do as an advisor change a lot, and kind of the level of your thinking changes a lot when you have that many folks that you have to be tracking all of their different details. So with all these things in mind, like I said, we've got big dreams here, but I want to go over kind of the 4 phases we're thinking about for this fall. The first one, which should be coming very, very soon, is just the most foundational thing, to be able to create a group trip in Tern. And really what this means at the beginning, you might just think about this like a folder. In the same way that you could maybe just plan a bunch of different trips today in Tern, they're technically part of a group. You could now actually group those things together and have them as sub-trips within this group. So it makes it easier to keep all that communication in one place, to have it organized on your trip planning board, things like that. And then we'll also be introducing itineraries for groups. And what this will allow you to do is to basically set up a template itinerary to start, where if you know you're going to be making a bunch of reservations in a group, you can have that template ready to go so that anytime you create a new reservation within the group, all of the activities you planned, all the content you put in there will automatically get added to any new sub-trip within a group. The next piece, once those itineraries are out, are building beautiful landing pages. We demoed this a bit at our last webinar. We showed some prototypes and some early mocks. We're really excited about getting this out the door as fast as possible. But we know how important it is for you to be able to sell and to make sure that clients have the context they need in order to decide if the group trip is right for them. So there'll be a section that's fully customizable for you to put in any of that content that you want to make sure your travelers know when they're making that decision, whether they want to book on the trip. And then we're also going to be layering on the actual ability to self-serve sign up for a trip. And what this means is that they'll be able to make their selections on a group trip, like maybe similar to how you can already make selections in Tern today with an option block, kind of leveling that up to the group level. So when somebody's signing up for the first time, they can pick exactly what they want and make sure that all those things are ready to go for them as soon as they book. The next piece is that they'll be able to fill out any required forms that you need in order to make bookings when they sign up for the group. So you could customize those things with our form builder today and make sure they show up in that checkout flow. And then the last piece will be collecting authorization basically at the time of reservation. So if you need a deposit authorized in order for someone to actually sign up for the group, or you need them to pay something or to authorize something at the beginning, we'll have that built into that sign up flow. We know this is like the thing people are most excited for, so we're working tirelessly to try and get this out the door as fast as possible. The last piece here that we'll be working on this fall is, again, thinking about scale. There's a lot of these features that might start by just like having to click into a sub-trip to see exactly what like the status of a payment is or an authorization, but we will be layering on ways to bubble those things up to the group level to make sure that there's an easy way to do that, that these things are efficient, and that you have all the context you need when you're thinking about, kind of the scale of the group. So that's kind of the overall phasing for these things, and really excited to hand it over to Molly to give you some more accurate timelines on exactly when we're thinking these things will come out.
Amazing. Thanks, Brad. So yes, I know the exact next question everyone is going to ask is what can I expect and when? So first, we want to make this as tangible as possible for folks. We know you're making decisions around when to start thinking about planning groups in Tern. We know a lot of you came to the webinar today to learn exactly about groups. There is actually in our Help Center, as of today, a public roadmap for groups. You can search on it. We're going to send it as follow-up to the webinar. You can access this at any time. With things that are a bit further out, it's possible some of these things will shift a bit, maybe swap around. We will keep this updated. This will be your roadmap source of truth for groups. And as Brad said, as each piece is ready to go, we're going to put it right in your hands. So maybe you know you're not going to be ready to move over to Tern for specifically groups until landing pages are ready. You can hold until that piece is ready, but as soon as it's ready, it will be there in your hands. So here are kind of how we've laid out some of the milestones that Brad just talked about. I'm not going to go over every one, but that really first phase of work for the group shell and the itinerary will be ready in November. That first piece, as David said, matter of days. Landing pages also slated for November, and then more of that robust self-service sign up and all of the bells and whistles for that, including things like inventory management, will be closer to December. And then, as Brad mentioned, we're not going to stop there with those foundational features. So first and foremost, we're going to be listening to you. Part of the beauty of getting these things in your hands quickly is to listen and learn and improve. And so some of these things may change. These are our current thinking on the next set of priorities after groups. That those foundational features. But if we hear loud and clear something is super critical that we missed, we will slot those things in throughout the fall as we see them come up. But some of those key things, better management around kind of group level templates for things like insurance and documents. We know that we'll want to make improvements around how you can target emails across your group, workflow management, and then some of those reports to level up data from your sub trips. And then the final thing you're seeing here on the bottom right, in parallel to all of this work, we're also talking to a lot of hosts and independent agencies around payment needs, not just for groups, but for trips in general. And we know in particular for groups, sometimes the needs around payments change. So not necessarily having a supplier be willing to take 500 different credit cards for a really large group trip. They need a single deposit. How do we enable those sorts of things in a way that works within agency processes that we know are incredibly critical? So this is something that we're currently researching and having a lot of conversations around. And if you're interested in beta testing some of these things for the fall, we will be linking to a survey in the webinar follow-up, as well as it's actually already live in the Help Center article that we have on our group's roadmap. So lots more to come there in future webinars, but very excited for all of these things. And to close us out, I'm going to pass it back over to David to talk about our big groups webinar and a recap.
So we were talking about this beforehand, and thank you, Molly, and it's so fun just like watching the chat on the other display here. This is going to be the culmination, I think, of so many pieces of the Tern platform coming together to really make groups something special, something magical, and something that really helps all of you continue to grow your business. And so I think Katie responded in the chat, we love a little bit of pressure. And so we are committing that we will have our groups launch webinar on December 11th, same time, 3 p.m. You will be getting an invitation to that if you're on this webinar. And that was where we will go into depth on all of this. Now, again, it doesn't mean that nothing is going to ship until December 11th. You will start to see some of these things very, very soon if you're a Tern user. And we'll continue to iterate on that. But we'll kind of do the big reveal, the bug demo, the deep dive on December 11th. So whether you have spring break groups that you're going to be working on, whether you're working on things for 2025, this will be a great webinar to attend to really understand the nuances of groups. And want to just kind of close out with a quick recap of what we talked about, and then we're going to do the giveaway. We've got hundreds of names on the wheel of names, so make sure you stick around. We've just got a couple more minutes here. I want to kind of start off just with what we talked about to begin with, right? The ambition of Tern and what we're working for is really to change the trajectory of market share and put more market share in travel, which translates to more dollars, more bigger businesses, bigger teams, like whatever your goal is. Things get better when more people are using travel advisors to plan trips. The quality of trips get better, the impact on the local economies gets better. Like every metric that you look at, we think is better when people work with all of you. And we are on this crazy, audacious mission to empower you as small business owners with world-class technology to help outcompete these other technologies that for too long has been taking money out of your pockets. And so we're so excited to be working with you to bring that reality. And as we talked about before, it's like pretty audacious. And we talked about some of the incredible feats of engineering that happen. And I really believe that this is only possible because of the team that we've assembled. Whether you're sending rockets into space or whatever it may be, it's, sometimes there's like a face of it, but it's really the team that makes it happen. And we have a genuinely world-class team here at Tern. And like, join me in like just giving them a little bit of love in the chat. I mean, the engineers, the product managers, support, who are like every single day waking up to try and build something to make all of you proud is like, just incredible and inspiring to watch. And Molly and Brad and I get to be kind of the face on the webinar, but there is an entire team toiling, working hard, putting way more hours in than most jobs, because we just care about building for all of you. And it's a really privilege to do that and to see the response. So I wanted to just acknowledge that none of this would be possible without a genuinely world-class team. And it's that team that's going to enable us to pull off this pretty audacious mission. We're going to do that in three primary ways. Everything we talked about today is helping maintain the humanity of this space and the uniquely human experience that you bring, but empowering you with digital efficiency. We talked about leveling up your client experience with world-class digital tools. And we talked about how collaboration really brings that to the next level. We talked about the fact, I mean, it's kind of wild if you think about this, and it's like kind of fun. Like I'm a little competitive. And so you look at like what other, people are releasing, and, in a month and a half, basically, we're like released an entire company's worth of products. And it's hard to fit all that into 90 minutes, but I'm just so proud of the team. And I'm so inspired by the impact and the chat that this is having on all of you. And so I'm not going to go through all the features because we're running out of time. We have a giveaway to get to. But we will share the recording. We'll share the kind of details here. And we are going to keep moving at this velocity. In fact, our goal is to go faster and to build more products that empower all of you to do incredible work. So thank you for that opportunity. You'll get a link to download the white paper, which brings it to life. If you're a travel advisor and you're like, well, like this agency thing sounds really cool, but my agency doesn't use Tern, like send them the white paper and be like, hey, like we should just talk to them. Like we would love to talk to your agencies. And just share a little bit of our vision, even if it's not a good fit, even if it's a 3-year, kind of conversation that it takes us to really build everything that they need. We'd love to start the conversation now. And so we welcome those introductions, because it really is going to take a village to recognize that mission that we're on. And of course, join the group's webinar on December 11th. I think that may be the most hype webinar that we have this year. What a cool way. And then the last thing, if you haven't tuned in already, we've got a whole podcast. If you love this kind of thing and you don't necessarily want to commit to 90 minutes, like Brad, Molly, and I get together every Friday and we spend 20 to 30 minutes just talking about what's new, what we've shipped, what the updates are, how we're thinking about product. We answer your questions. And so search for Flight Path. You can find us on YouTube at Tern Travel, or you can search Flight Path by Tern anywhere that you get your podcasts, as long as you get your podcasts from either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. So check it out there. And now it's time for a giveaway. We've got a $500 Southwest gift card that we are going to send. If you win and you're not in a region that Southwest serves, let us know when we email you, and we will figure out some other prize for you, because it was brought to our attention that Southwest does not serve everybody that's on this webinar. And we will figure something else out for you if that is the case. So regardless of if you're in a region that Southwest serves or not, you can still win. We'll figure out what you win later. But here we go. We're going to, team's loving that. I just made that up on the fly, but we're going to make sure this is inclusive. So here we go. We've got the wheel of names. This is a fun cultural thing for us. maybe get some of the team, like come off video here, again, throwing an audible, like people that have been fighting for their life in the Q&A. I can see that there's literally hundreds of questions still. So
Yeah, we should
thank you
say
for your
we'll
patience.
follow up with those.
Yeah, we'll follow up on the
Following up.
questions.
Yep.
We'll be following up on those because we love the engagement, but I'm sure the team's been fighting with us. So we got the team on off video here, and we're gonna do some spins. So like let's make some spinning happen. Are we ready, team? Would you like do a drum roll or anything? Like
I think we're ready. Let's drum roll it and let's get to it.
all right, here we go. A little drum roll. See if Zoom cancels it out. Drum roll. You must be present to win. So it's possible we're going to have a situation where we're just going to spin for the next 30 minutes, but hopefully not because we've got pretty good attendance today. Deborah, are you on? Let me search. You are. Congratulations, Deborah. You won the prize. First spin. Look at that. That concludes our webinar. We will be in touch. Thank you all so much for spending this time with us. It has been an absolute pleasure. We are excited to build something truly great with each and every one of you. And we appreciate your partnership. If you want to learn more, get in touch and we will dig out from this Q&A list and try and get back to you all. Have a fantastic rest of your week and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Everyone.